Hey guys, it's Sharon. Happy spooky season. I know I said that already, but I'm gonna keep saying it because this is technically the first week of my spooky videos, and it is the first Thursday of the month, meaning we are getting a Zodiac serial killer video today. And if you don't know what that is, if you're new to my channel, if you're not, welcome or welcome back. I started a brand new series this year inspired by my spooky season last year, where every single month I talk about a specific serial killer, but I base my serial killer off the Zodiac astrology sign of that month. And this month it is Libra. I started back with Aries season, so if you'd like to go check those out, definitely feel free to. I have a playlist on my channel, and if you'd like to see more, definitely give us a thumbs up and let me know in the comments below. If there's a specific serial killer you'd like me to cover or that I haven't done yet and you have it coming up, like your sign is coming up, make sure to request that in the comments below. And also make sure to follow my Instagram, my Twitter, and my TikTok so you have a say in my videos, get a chance to be in them, and even get to be shout out of the day. Now today's killer is a little bit special because this is the first time I'm covering more than one person. So this is actually a duo, and they are known as the Hillside Stranglers. But our Libra serial killer is technically one of the Hillside Stranglers. I can't really talk about one without talking about the other, right? So today's serial killer is named Angelo Buono. Now, of course, in every single one of my videos, I give you a warning. If you do not feel comfortable watching this, you definitely don't have to. I do talk about some dark subjects, so here is your warning right now. But enough about that. Go grab your snacks, go grab your tea, and let's get into today's Libra serial killer. I also do want to apologize if I mispronounce any names. I'm trying my best. I do struggle with pronunciation a lot, but here we go. Angelo Buono was an American serial killer, rapist, and kidnapper. He did all this with his cousin Kenneth Bianchi, and they were known as the Hillside Stranglers. They were convicted of killing 10 young women in Los Angeles, California of October 1977 through February of 1978. They are responsible for the murders of at least 14 women in the late 1970s. Angelo Anthony Buono Jr. was born on October 5th, 1934 in Rochester, New York. His parents were Italian immigrants who divorced when he was young. When Angelo was 5, he moved to Glendale, California with his mom Jenny and his sister Cecilia. He had a high interest in sex at a young age and allegedly started showing a strong hatred towards women. By age 14, his classmates reported that he had been bragging about raping and sodomizing young local girls. He also began stealing cars and was placed in a reform school. Angelo idolized serial rapist Carl Chessman, known as the Red Light Bandit. He considered him his hero, although he believed that Chessman should have killed his victims too. In 1955, he married his high school sweetheart, 17-year-old Geraldine Vinnell. He got her pregnant and left her less than a week later. Their child was named Michael, and he was born on January 10th of 1956. Angelo divorced Geraldine and refused to pay for child support. Later on, he married Mary Castillo, who he also got pregnant and ended up having 5 kids with her. In 1964, Angelo was believed to have raped his 2-year-old daughter Grace, although there is not enough information to elaborate on this. Angelo and Mary's marriage also ended in divorce in 1964. She claimed that he had been physically and sexually abusive. Mary tried to reconcile with him, but he handcuffed her and threatened her at gunpoint, so she quickly stopped. He got married a 3rd time in 1965 to a single mother named Nanette Campino and had 2 children with her. At one point, he was arrested for stealing cars and was sentenced to 1 year in prison, but because of his large family, his sentencing was suspended so that he could work. Nanette later divorced him in 1971 like his previous 2 wives, not only because he was abusing her, but because he also raped her daughter. The following year, Angelo married once again to a woman named Deborah Taylor, but he did not live with her. His wives were constantly abused by him, physically and sexually, and later on, many of them said that inflicting pain during sex seemed to have pleasured him. He became a car upholsterer in 1975, and despite his physical appearance and odd behavior, women were still attracted to him. During this time, Angelo forced lots of women to give him oral sex, and he even started dating a teenager that he got pregnant twice. In January of 1976, Angelo's cousin Kenneth Bianchi came from New York to California, and they lived together. Kenneth was 17 years younger than Angelo, so Angelo was kind of like a role model to him. He taught him how to use fake police badges to extort free sex from prostitutes. The two also became pimps for a short time until the 2 girls that worked for them, that they practically held prisoners, managed to escape. Their names were Sabra Hannon and Becky Spears. In October of 1977, the 2 cousins committed their first murder together. This was a little after Sabra and Becky's escape. They wanted to keep their pimping business alive, so they paid a prostitute, Deborah Noble, for a trick list with the names and numbers of customers in LA. Deborah Noble showed up at their house with another prostitute and part-time waitress, Yolanda Washington. They sold the cousins a fake list. Angelo and Kenneth quickly realized this, and they wanted revenge. They couldn't find Deborah, but they knew where to find Yolanda. She said she often worked on a specific stretch of Sunset Boulevard. Yolanda Washington's naked body was found on a hillside near the Ventura Freeway on October 18th, 1977. She had been tied up with fabric around the neck, wrist, and legs, and pinned down. She had been violently raped, and then her body had been washed clean to remove any evidence. She was 19 years old. A music store owner named Ronald Lemieux was the last person to see her alive. He later testified that 2 men flashed police badges to her and pulled her off the street. They handcuffed her and pushed her in the back seat of an unmarked car. This became their MO. They would cruise around LA in Angelo's car and persuade women that they were cops with fake badges and convince them to get into their car. They claimed the car was just an unmarked police car, and then they would take the victims back to their place, torture, and murder them. The victims ranged in ages from 12 to 28 and included sex workers, schoolgirls, a college student, a dancer, and an inspiring actress. Over the following 3 weeks, they killed 2 more women. On November 1st of 1977, police were called to the Alta Terrace Drive, about 12 miles from downtown LA. The body of a teenage girl was found naked, face up on the parkway of a middle-class residential area. The homeowner covered her with tarps so the children wouldn't see her on their way to school. There were ligature marks on her hands, wrist, and ankles. She was bound and strangled elsewhere, and her body was dumped. She was also sodomized and raped. She was described as being small and thin, weighing about 90 pounds and looking to be about 16 years old. She was eventually identified as 15-year-old Judith Lynn Miller, a former Hollywood high school student who was a runaway and occasional sex worker. Miller was last seen alive on October 31st of 1977, talking to a man driving a large 2-tone sedan on Sunset Boulevard. The cousins told her they were undercover cops, cuffed her, and took her to Angelo's shop in Glendale to murder her. 5 days later, on November 6th of 1977, the nude body of another woman was discovered near the Chevy Chase Country Club in Glendale, California. Like Judith Miller, she had ligature marks on her neck, wrist, and ankles. She was strangled and brutally raped, but not sodomized. She was identified as 21-year-old Alyssa Teresa Lissa Caston, who was last seen leaving the restaurant she worked at the night before her body was found. Unlike the 2 previous victims, Lissa was not a sex worker or a runaway. She was a professional dancer, and the Strangles had followed her while she drove home from work. They pulled her over on the street she lived on, showed their fake police badges, and said they were detectives. Then they handcuffed her and told her they needed to take her in for questioning. In early November of 1977, the men approached 25-year-old Catherine Laura Baker, the daughter of actor Peter Lorre. They intended to abduct and murder her, but they saw a picture of her sitting on her father's lap in her identification. They were even fans of her father. They let her go, fearing that the murder of a celebrity's child would cause too much attention. After the cousins were caught, Catherine realized who they were. She said she never felt threatened by either one of them. She said it was casual and even a friendly encounter. On Sunday, November 13th of 1977, 2 girls, 12-year-old Dolores and Dolly Cepeda and 14-year-old Sandra Marie Jackson, boarded a bus in front of the Eagle Rock Plaza and headed home. The last time they were seen was getting off the bus on York Boulevard and N Avenue in 46. They were approached by a 2-tone sedan with 2 men inside. Their bodies were found by a 9-year-old boy who had been treasure hunting in a trash heap on a hillside near Dodger Stadium on November 20th of 1977. It was determined that they had been strangled and raped. Earlier that same day, hikers found the nude body of 20-year-old Christina Weckler, a quiet honors student at the Art Center College of Design. She was said to be a loving and serious young woman who had a bright future ahead of her. She was found on a hillside between Eagle Rock and Glendale and had ligature marks on her wrist, neck, and ankles, bruises on her breast, and blood oozed from her rectum. Unlike the first 3 victims, there were 2 puncture marks on her arm, but no signs of the needle track that indicated a drug addiction. It was later revealed that Christina had been injected with Windex, a hard surface cleaner. On November 29th of 1977, police found the body of 18-year-old Lauren Ray Wagner in the hills around Mount Washington in Los Angeles. She was a business student who lived with her parents in the San Fernando Valley. Like the others, she had ligature marks on her neck, wrist, and ankles. There were also burn marks on her hands indicating that she was tortured. Lauren's parents expected her home before midnight, but the next day they found her car parked across the street with the door left open. Her father started questioning the neighbors. He learned that the woman who lived at the house where Lauren's car was parked saw her abduction. She said she saw 2 men. One was tall and young. The other one was older and shorter with bushy hair. She also says she heard Lauren cry out, "You won't get away with this," during her abduction. On December 14th of 1977, the body of 17-year-old sex worker Kimberly Diane Martin was found on a deserted lot near Los Angeles City Hall. She was naked and showed signs of torture. Martin had previously joined a call girl agency because she was scared of being out on the streets with the Hillside Strangler on the loose. Angelo and his cousin happened to place a call to her agency from a Hollywood Public Library payphone, and she was the call girl that was dispatched. When the police investigated the apartment she had been sent to, they found it vacant and broken into. Their final victim was discovered in LA on February 17th of 1978 when a helicopter pilot spotted an orange Datsun abandoned midway down a cliff on the Angeles Crest Highway. Police discovered the nude body of the car's owner, 20-year-old Cindy Lee Hudspeth, in the car's trunk. She was a student and a part-time waitress. Her body showed ligature marks and she had been raped and tortured. She had been strangled and then her body put into the trunk of her car and pushed off the cliff. Cindy's murder wasn't even planned. Kenneth arrived at Angelo's upholstery shop at closing time on February 16th, only to find Cindy talking to Angelo about new upholstery she'd like done for her car. The two men had a private discussion, agreeing to kill her. By the beginning of 1978, the pair of men had killed a total of 10 women. They stopped killing, possibly because Kenneth's son was born around this time. Also, Kenneth had been applying for law enforcement jobs around this time, even while killing, and made some acquaintances in the LAPD. He even had been in ride-alongs when officers were out looking for the killers. On the night when the cousins tried to abduct an 11th victim, they got into a heated argument. Kenneth revealed that he had been questioned in the Hillside Strangler case. Angelo was furious and threatened to kill him if he didn't leave town. Kenneth, along with his family, moved to Bellingham, Washington in May of 1978, where he got a job as a security guard. In January of the following year, Kenneth abducted two female Western Washington University students, Karen Mendick and Diane Wilder, took them to a house he guarded, raped, tortured, and killed them on his own. Fortunately, he left behind some clues. His car, which had California plates, was spotted and he was connected to the address of two Hillside Strangler victims. He was arrested the next day on January 12th. When Kenneth's photo was broadcasted in the media in Los Angeles, investigators got a call from a lawyer named David Wood, who had helped one of the two girls that the cousins had previously pimped escape. He tipped them off about Angelo, who was also arrested on October 22nd of 1979. Shortly before that, Kenneth had sold him out to investigators. Not only did Angelo and his cousins sexually abuse their victims before strangling them, they also experimented with other methods of killing. This included lethal injection, electric shock, and carbon monoxide poisoning. It was initially believed that only one person was responsible for the murders. However, the police knew from the position of the bodies that two were involved, but withheld that information from the press. The legal case against Angelo was based largely upon Kenneth's testimony. The case's original prosecutors decided that Kenneth was unreliable and an uncooperative witness, and moved to dismiss all charges against Angelo and set him free. The presiding judge, Ronald M. George, refused to release Angelo and assigned the case to a new attorney general. Kenneth was very unreliable. He tried to fake insanity and was caught. He also somehow convinced a woman that fell in love with him to try and strangle and murder another woman and plant his semen that he smuggled out to her to make it look like the Hillside Strangler was still out there. Angelo's trial lasted from November of 1981 to November of 1983. During the trial, there was a great deal of trace evidence implicating the two. There had been fibers from Angelo's upholstery shop and home on two of the victims. There was an imprint of a fake police badge in his wallet, and there were hairs from rabbits he had raised on another victim. Kenneth also agreed to plead guilty and testify on his cousin's involvement, though he remained uncooperative throughout the trial. In 1983, both men were found guilty of the murders they had committed. They were somehow spared the death penalty and sentenced to life in prison. Angelo was convicted on 9 counts of murder. In 1986, Angelo married Christine Kazuka, a mother of 3 and a supervisor at the California State Employment Development Department. He died of a heart attack on September 21st of 2002 while serving time at the Calipatria State Prison in California. His body was cremated. In 2007, Angelo's grandson, Christopher Buono, committed suicide after shooting his grandmother, Mary Castillo, one of Angelo's ex-wives. She was shot in the head. She shared 5 children with Angelo Buono, including Christopher's father. Christopher was unaware of his grandfather's true identity until 2005. Cousin Kenneth is still serving his sentence at the Washington State Penitentiary in Walla Walla, Washington, and won't be eligible for parole again until 2025. And that is all I have for you today on Angelo Buono and his cousin, Kenneth Bianchi, known as the Hillside Stranglers. In the comments below, let me know what you think about this case. I think it is very sad that it got as far as it did did, knowing that Angelo was a very troublesome man, especially raping and abusing his wives and even his children. And I can't get over the fact that a woman witnessed this poor girl's abduction and nothing came about it. And also the other fact that Kenneth tried to smuggle his own semen out into a would-be crime scene, which, by the way, that plan completely failed. The other woman that was in love with him, tried to kill, managed to get away and flee, and that one was arrested. I just can't believe he thought planting his semen would make the cops think that the Hillside Stranglers were still out there, when his semen has his DNA, so it would just link back to him. It's amazing. It really truly is. It's so sad. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Once again, comment down anything you're feeling, anything you want to see, anything you just want to let out, think, go for it. If there's a specific serial killer you would like me to talk about, let me know in the comments below. It is spooky season, so I will be making more spooky related videos. I am bringing back my Fright Night series, so I'm very excited for that. The last week of October, I upload videos for a week straight, and they're all a little bit different from my usual content. It's stuff like scary stories, ghost stories, myths, legends, serial killers, all that good stuff. Well, I guess not good stuff, but you know what I mean. Comment of the day goes to Niha or Neha on Instagram. Thank you so much. If you'd like to be shouted out of the day, just follow me on my Instagram and stay active. And of course, like I mentioned, this is a series that I make once a month, every single month, every first Thursday of the month, and it follows the zodiac sign of that month. I did start with Aries, and there's a whole playlist on my channel where you can binge them all to catch up with, and you can binge my Fright Night series from last year to get ready for this year's series as well. All that being said, if you want to see more, definitely subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!